Here's Konstantin Kisin, who's really good on most things, really good. Here's Konstantin Kisin responding to Trump and Musk over their accusations against Zelensky and Ukraine. And this is like one of several things he's written about this. So, but this actually got a response from Musk, which I think is very revealing. Other lies about Ukraine. No, Zelensky hasn't banned opposition parties. He has banned certain opposition parties because they are openly pro-Russian. It's a war. Britain banned the British Union of Fascists during World War II in exactly the same way. America went further and rounded up Japanese Americans and threw them into internment camps. No, Zelensky hasn't suspended independent media. He has suspended pro-Russian media. Even Orwell, arguably the greatest defender of free speech of the 20th century, acknowledged the need for state restrictions on media during war. The idea that in World War II we would allow pro-enemy propaganda on our airwaves is absurd. Absolutely right. There are many legitimate criticisms to be made of the war, of the way this war came about, the way both Ukrainian and Western leadership have behaved, and the failure to end this war when it became clear that Ukraine had done its best and lost. Not sure I agree with that part. But the spectacle of people sitting in warmth, comfortable and plenty, lying and misrepresenting a country and a people who are courageously fighting to defend their land against a bully is sickening. And people who engage in this should be deeply ashamed. They won't, of course, because to most of them, the war in Ukraine isn't a real thing. It's just a topic for online click farming. The only silver lining is we're really finding out who's who. Elon Musk replies, "You're losing credibility with this." He's telling Kissen. Who's losing credibility? Either Zelensky holds an election to prove that he represents the will of the people, or he is a dictator. Konstantin answers, "I agree. He must hold an election when the war is over. That would be consistent with historical precedent, convention, and practical reality. While the war is going on, an election is impossible." And somebody says, "Why is it impossible?" And Kissen says, "It's kind of hard to have an election when portions of your country are occupied. A significant portion of your voters are refugees on the front lines, and you are being bombed on a daily basis." He later says, "I really am starting to think that the failure to understand what I am saying is an IQ problem." And if that's the case, what does that say about his evaluation now of Elon Musk? Again, Kissen is a fan. Kissen was just at the ARC, Jordan Peterson big conference in London where he spoke. So, you know, Kissen's one of the guys on the right, and yet he's discovering what a lot of people on the right are like. The mindlessness syndrome that I've been talking about. There are people who are mindless. Maybe it's IQ, maybe it's not. I don't know if it's IQ. IQ is too simple of an explanation. So, yeah, good for Kissen. I agree with basically what he said. And I am horrified, disappointed, even disgusted by what Elon Musk is saying and by what Donald Trump is saying and by Elon Musk's support for Donald Trump on this issue. Now, just to add on to this, the U.S. today refused to co-sponsor or to sign on to a motion backing Ukraine ahead of the war anniversary. So the UN, not an organization I care for at all, was going to release a resolution marking 3 years of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine And the resolution would back Ukraine's territorial integrity and demand that Russia withdraw its troops. While 50 countries have said they would sign on to this, the United States is refusing to sign on. Washington has also objected to a phrase in a statement of the group of 7 nations, these are 7 large economies in the world, that they plan to issue next week that would have condemned Russia's aggression. So the United States refuses now to even condemn Russia's aggression. This is Donald Trump. And how could this end positively? Now, I think the ball now really is, I mean, the U.S. and Russia are going to continue to try to come up with a peace deal. But in the meantime, the ball is in Europe's courts, I think, and the challenge is a European challenge. And the Polish Prime Minister, Poland, again, largest military force, I think, today in Europe, is now advocating that Europe basically seize $270 billion in frozen Russian assets and basically funnel them to Ukraine. I think this is what they should do. I think they should do it immediately. This was cost a lot more than $270 billion. And that would both fund Ukraine, even if the United States withdraws its support, although it's not clear objectively that Ukraine can win this war without at the very least, U.S. intelligence support in terms of Russian troop movements and things like that. But maybe Europe could step in and replace the U.S., but that's going to take some time. And again, it's going to require the Europeans to be a lot stronger than they have been. So I think a lot of what we're going to watch, I'm going to be watching moving forward, is what do Europeans do? How committed are they? Are they willing, for example, to take all these frozen assets, which I think they should? These are Russian assets. Russia started the war. They should forfeit them and give them to Ukraine. I think that would send a message, at least that Europe is standing by Ukraine, and that'll strengthen the negotiating hand, supposedly, of if there's even a negotiation, not just a surrender of Trump. But as I see it right now, the United States is basically surrendering to Russia on behalf of Ukraine. There's no negotiating going on.